So today I wanted to make a really quick video going over my personal config file for Vim. I've been meaning to do this for a while and I just haven't gone around to it, so I figured, hey, let's just jump into it and get going with it. So we're going to launch Vim and go into MyConfig, and before I go any further, let me scroll the way up. Let me zoom in for you guys that are on mobile devices so you can properly see everything I'm going over without having to squint your eyes or zoom in on the screen or anything stupid like that. So basically, as a recap, in SpaceVim, you have the MyConfig file that you set Vim settings for and other plugin settings with SpaceVim, and it's essentially broken down into two separate sections. The MyConfig after, where most of your settings go, and the MyConfig before, where you'll have other settings that I'll show you in a moment here. But to start off, let's go in with the MyConfig after. And I'll go over each section. I won't necessarily go every single line of code. I'll just go over each section to kind of give you a broader idea of what we're looking at. So under personal settings, I have here all the Vim settings that I want. So word wrap, text width, line break, history. So this sets how much it actually remembers. And then you have sign column, which is over here. On the left hand side, you have a bit of a space, and that's there so that if there's an error in code that I'm writing or on a config file, a little symbol will show up to let me know about that. Update time is every single time you go in and you change something in the file, how quickly is it updated to create a swap file to revert back to. And scroll off. So this scroll off setting essentially makes it so that once I get down to, if you look down over here, to 8 lines down, it will then start to move up. It's just more of a visual preference than anything. It doesn't do anything in terms of functionality. It's more or less just a aesthetic preference. Then over here we have custom key bindings. So this is where I set all the key bindings that I want for various Vim settings. So if I type in, say, COC and I wait, then COC will pop up. And what this is essentially code correction. So if I go in and I go into home, I go into a test file here, and I go in and I start typing in things like function and things like that. This is COC at work. If I go in and I purposefully make a mistake, like let's say I get rid of one of these quotation marks, then you will see everything goes mad, it goes crazy. This is essentially COC as code correction. So now with that out of the way, let's go back here, and nope, we do not want to save changes. Discarded, great. Let's go back over to my custom Vim. So that's what COC is. You'll see a mention of that later on in the video here. Now, COC list yank. I'm not going to show you this because it isn't quite working right, but essentially this is an extension for COC Clipboard Manager, but within Vim. So you can have multiple yanks and paste each yank as you see fit. So snippets in this is another thing within COC. So if I wanted to go in and create a snippet for a particular file type, I can do it in here. And what a snippet does is if you type in a specific keyword, it will bring up a string of code that you can enter without having to type in that whole thing. So for example, let's go into init.toml, and let's say I wanted to go in and add a new plugin. Well, instead of having to type in double brackets, custom plugins, repo equals, and the name of the repo, merge equals 0, all I have to do is hit O for new line, CP for custom plugins, and this is a snippet for .toml files that I can go in and just set anytime I want. If I wanted to change the snippet or add a new one, COCS, and I can go in, create a new snippet, or I can change the code name for it, kind of do whatever I see fit to make it work the way that I want it to. COCI is for installing various plugins for COC, and then the COC config is, well, it's the config file for COC. and immediately launches, so you can set various settings within COC as you see fit. Now in here, these are all the key bindings that I have set to have Vim do various things. So if I wanted to quit, I would just do Control Q, and then it would quit. I'm going to go back into it, go into my Vim. Nope, I will not forget to zoom in for you guys so you can see on mobile. And then the CR at the end of it essentially means it will immediately do it. I don't have to confirm anything. So for example, Control Q will quit, and I don't have to push anything else to confirm that. I can do Control X to write and quit, and anything else I see fit. This is my setting for sneak. Essentially sneak, if I recall correctly, what it does is I can hit S, and then if I wanted to jump to, let's say, call function down here, all I would have to do is type CA, and then it will automatically jump down to that CA. If I wanted to go in reverse, I can do capital S and then do KE, and it would jump up backwards. So it's a neat plugin to have. Custom auto commands, this essentially just kills any white space that I may have. So if I went into this file here and just added a bunch of white space there for no good reason, hit exit. When I go in and I save, it automatically deletes the white space after saving it, whether it's just saving or saving and quitting. So down here you have all the COC settings that you need to get COC to running the way that I have it. There's a lot of code here and a lot of different things to get COC functioning the way that it is. So I'm not going to go through and tell you everything. If you want to see this in detail and copy and paste it into your config, my config is up on GitLab, so you can go and check that out. There's also settings for COC snippets and COC list, which essentially what this does is if I hit space, there are various things in here that are set that will load up things like resume, COC list, extensions, things like that, and this is part of where that's set at. Then we have Fuzzy Find. If you want to learn more about Fuzzy Find, I made a video about it. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Essentially what Fuzzy Find does, if I do Control F, I can search and fuzzy find for every single file in the current working directory. If I did, whoops, wrong thing. If I did Control S, it searches in the current buffer. So that's essentially what fuzzy find is. It's just a quick search for things in a file you're working for or for a file itself. And these are the various key bindings I have for it. Again, you see the CR there. So as soon as I select, or as soon as I put in Control F, it just automatically loads it. Now, this is the second half of the MyConfig file, the MyConfig before. And forgive me for not knowing the proper terminology because I'm not a programmer, but this is where you would put all your let G settings for Vim. So in this case, for airline, I have the various let G things for powerline fonts and what theme it sets. Vim Rainbow, which essentially gives different colors. It makes everything like the equal sign, the various brackets look colorful. That's what Rainbow does. Startify, so this is where I set all the specific things in here for recently opened files, and then bookmarks. Whoops, where did that go? This is where I set those, so I just tell it what path and then what key will be used to jump to that file. Some more COC stuff, of course, because they're, can't get enough of that. Some fuzzy find stuff, and then that's pretty much it. So essentially, this can be a little confusing if you're used to just using Vim and throwing everything into an RC file. Basic thing you should know is your let G settings go in MyConfig hashtag before. Everything else, all other settings, go in MyConfig after. So why it's broken up into those two different sections, or why it can't just be in one file, sorry about the bird, I don't know. I didn't create SpaceVim. If you want to know that, try to find the developers and ask them yourselves. But this is how you get Vim settings, settings for various extensions, and then let G settings for other extensions going in in SpaceVim. So that was a quick video going over the MyConfig file for SpaceVim. I've had that up on GitLab for a while and never gone into any detail of how to actually set things up and why things are a certain way that they are, with key bindings having that CR at the end of it. And so I wanted to put together this video to go over that into a little more detail so you guys know a better idea of what you're looking at when you go and check out my config file on my GitLab. And that pretty much wraps up the video. If you liked it, click the like button. If you really liked it, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. See ya.